Hey guys and girls, welcome back to another beautiful video on this beautiful channel, on this beautiful day. How you guys and girls doing? Hope you're doing really good. Today we're going to talk about arithmetic, something like that, operators in Lua. So we're just going to be making some examples with math stuff and all that stuff. So what I did was I went into my Lua folder here on my desktop and I created a lua.3.lua file here. Again, make sure it's not any kind of txt or any other extension hiding behind this. So just make sure of that, and then you're ready to code. And as usual, please check out the description box. You got a bunch of useful links down there, downloading Lua, checking out Lua manuals and stuff like that. And you can follow me on Twitter. Go to my support page if you can. That really helps me out a lot. Also subscribe or drop a like if you want. Otherwise, just keep watching, and we'll probably have a lot of fun anyway. So if we just get started, so what have we been talking about? We've been making some variables like integers or numbers in Lua, numbers with decimals. We've been using strings and everything, but I thought we'd just look at some math stuff you could do basically, and how you can chain stuff together, which it might not be that obvious to everybody. So let's just make a simple number 1 equals 10. Okay, so say you want to have a number 2 with a number 5, and you just want to multiply these into a result variable equals number 1 multiplied by number 2. Okay, so just like that. So we have a multiplication here, and then we can just do print result. Boom. So this is a simple little script where you can just say Lua, let's just run the whole Lua thing here, environment, and let's say do file Lua tutorial 3 dot Lua. Lots of Luas as usual. 50, right? Boom, easy peasy, no problems. What happens if I put a 5.2 here? What will Lua do then? Well, obviously that 5.23, let's see what happens then. It should, it converted it automatically. The result gets the number that has the most decimals, right? That has the most details. So if you multiply something that is an integer, or just a number without any decimals, with a floating point number like this, Lua automatically adds that to the result. And everything in Lua is a number basically. Everything is basically controlled by floating point numbers. So it's not that much of a surprise. And that's how Lua handles that. Now there are different things here. Obviously we have plus. We can have another type of number here, maybe 64, just like that. And then we run the file. 15.87 for addition. You have subtraction, where you can just get the result of that. Multiplication I showed you, and division. Obviously you have that. You can divide it. And Lua is precise in these floating point numbers up to 19 digits, I think, 19 decimals. So that's a whole bunch of decimals, and it's precise up to that. And then you can also use the modulus operator, which is just the remainder basically. So if I have something like 6 here and 10, the rest is 4, right? That's the kind of modulus operation of these two. So if the remainder of this division, integer division, is 4. All right. So if I had 3 here, it should be 1, because 3 plus 3 plus 3 is 9, but plus 3 doesn't work because it's greater than 10. So then we have that 1 remainder still there. So that's how that works. That's a really good operation to know. So there we go. Now we have a bunch of stuff that we're using here. We can make another number 3, where we say it is 23. Okay, and say I have number 1 plus number 2 multiplied by number 3. Now obviously in Lua or any other mathematical operations, multiplication comes before addition. So this will happen first. It has first priority, and then it will be added by the number 1. So this should be, let's make it a more easy number to work with so we can calculate it in our heads. So this should happen first. So 40 plus 10 which is I thought it was easier. 40 plus 10 is 50, obviously. So that should be okay, 50. Now, had it been 12 multiplied by 20, that would have been a whole different result. And we can obtain that result by adding parentheses to stuff. So if you add parentheses, obviously, if you know math, some kind of basic math at least, then you know that parentheses go before in priority than these multiplications and divisions and stuff like that. So this will happen first, and then we'll multiply that by number 3. So if I run this again, we'll have 240, which is a whole different result. Okay, and then we can make a number 4, which is 4, and we'll divide this by 4, or number 4. So the whole thing is going to be divided by a number 4. So I'm chaining together a bunch of shit, and that gives me 60. So 240 divided by 4 is 60. Okay, so I'm chaining a bunch of stuff together. You can do this as much as you want. So if you have some hard calculations or hard different equations you want to solve, you can do that using Lua, just making a simple script. You can do pretty much whatever you want. There's only one thing that I want to note is if we now have our result here, which is 60, after this everything goes from the left to the right, down, down, down. So once this is done, result will have the value of 60, and below it I'm gonna just add 1 to 60. Now if you're coming from C++, or if you're coming from Java or some kind of language that has this increment operator, which is basically result plus plus, that won't work. It will crash because this is not supported in Lua. There's no way to do this other than, you know, saying you can't do this either. Plus equals 1. This won't work either. It should crash. Yeah, it crashed. Basically, what you have to do is you have to say result is whatever result is right now plus 1. So it will get its own result plus 1 back put into it. So that if I just run this without any problems, 61. See, so that happens. So if you want to add 1 to anything or subtract 1 from something like this, 59, you have to write it this way, and that's kind of annoying, but you're gonna have to do it. Same thing for multiplication. If you want to multiply itself with something, you have to do it like this, the long way. But I think Lua makes up for it. Let me keep that. Why am I not keeping that? So this should be 120. Yep, just like that. So Lua makes up for that in being easy to work with in general. So there you go. And I'm not talking about exponents and to the power of or square root and stuff, because we're going to be talking about that later on in another video for the math library. Okay, so the math library is basically, just to give you a short introduction, just a bunch of special math functions like cosine and sine and all that stuff, trigonometry or whatever the hell you call it. I don't know, you know, triangle stuff, basically all that shit. You can use that library for it. So it's just like our io dot something. You can say math dot square root, and then you square root something. So you can play around with that right now if you want to. You don't have to be stopped by this tutorial. So if you want to use any math function, you can go ahead and Google Lua math library, and you'll get a bunch of math dot some function, something like that. Math dot dat, sure. Math dot round is a great function, or ceiling, if you know ceiling math to round up a number, stuff like that, really useful. So you can go check that out, but we'll talk about that more in the future. Okay, but I just want you to try this, try to chain stuff together. And one last thing I want to tell you is that you can actually use addition for a string. Now I haven't talked about strings that much, but it's kind of weird. So you have a string 1 equals hello from, like that, maybe hello from and a space, and then you have str2 equals from Lua strings and a period, just like that. So that's our strings, and I want to say str result equals str1 plus str2, and then I'm just going to go ahead and print that result as well. str result. Like this. There's a bunch of string functions as well that we can work with. Wait, was it plus or was it, I think, yeah, it's an arithmetic. Sorry about that. You can't plus. You write, either it's 1 dot or it's 2 dots. I think it's 2 dots in Lua. Yeah. So see how it prints out one whole string? Sorry about that. I just want to make sure that to add strings together, you don't use the plus or anything like that. You use the 2 dot operator. So there's 2 periods here. And that's a concatenation operator. It concatenates these strings. I think that's the word. It puts them together, basically. And you can put a bunch of stuff together. You can write string literals as well if you want to. Hello, or from literal, like that. So I put that into this whole thing here, which is basically these 2 things together. So I put a bunch of stuff here together, and then I can put a number 2 in here, like that. Wait, let's see, did I save that? Literal, and then a number 2 here. See, I just added a number into a string, and then I'll add number 3 here as well. So I'll get 2 and a 20. So I'm sorry for this being kind of cluttered. I'll add a space after all of these. See how long this gets? There you go. So I'll add a bunch of spaces. So 2, 20, and then you can actually make stuff happen in here. Just chain stuff together. So let me multiply. What happened to my multiplication, please? What happened to my thing? Control space. Shift space. Let me see. Wait, what happened? Oh, this changed to, there you go. So multiply by number 4, for example, in here. So all of this together, right? And I'm just gonna run that, save it, and then run it. It should be 80 down here now. So see how many things, how many operators I'm kind of putting together in strings and all that stuff. So this is a really good and fun thing to play around with. So go ahead and do that. Hopefully this will help you out in working in Lua and calculating stuff. Okay, and as I said, we'll talk about the math library later, as well as the string library, because there is something called a string dot, for example, string dot append, I think, or there's some things like find, yeah, string dot find. There's a bunch of functions for the string library where you can manipulate strings. Okay, and a really important one we'll talk about later is string dot format. So please check format. I'm pretty sure, yeah, string dot format, which kind of formats your string in any way you want. So please check those out if you want to already, but otherwise we'll talk about it in a later tutorial. Thanks for sticking with me so long. I hope you're enjoying these Lua tutorials, and I'll keep making them. So yeah, because I really enjoy Lua. I love the simplicity. So yeah, just check out the description box if you want. Again, follow me on Twitter, drop a like or subscribe if you want to. Otherwise, thanks for following, sticking around. And I'll see you guys and girls in the next one, alright? Take care. Bye-bye.